metabolic abnormalities have to be kept in mind. Ultrasound, urine culture, focused metabolic workup, IVP. There is a debate whether we have to do metabolic workup before the surgery or after the surgery. This is a detailed metabolic workup, stone analysis, urine analysis, culture, spot calcium to creatinine ratio. A blood test you can do anytime, but 24-hour urine, a lot of tests advised. This usually is done after the clearance of the stone. And serum chemistry, there is no problem. And most common, this is the reference values in pediatrics like calcium, oxalate, citrate, uric acid and urine volume. Less than 4 mg per kg calcium, less than 0.5 mg per kg oxalate, citrate greater than 6 mg, less than 10 mg uric acid. The technical aspects, preoperative stenting in all cases, sheathless is better, drainage of bladder is compulsory, RGP at the end, inspection all calyces and ureter is advised, smaller access sheets, smaller flexible scopes are better, no doubt. Double guide wire safe and effective, general anesthesia definitely, fluid management, pediatrician and nephrologist. And our experience, we have done around 57 children altogether, and in these cases, access sheet was used only in 15 cases. Only in 2 cases I have used 12/14. It was quite accommodative, I tried in small children. Generally, operative time will be 30 to 40 or 50 minutes like that. Definitely, first attempt when you see ultrasound or CT, your SFR will be less. In all these studies, it is less. A gentle relook at the time of the anesthesia. This is a true disadvantage in children. You need a good anesthetist. Whether you intubate for 5 minutes or 30 minutes, it is the same. So that's a major concern. Apart from the ventilatory support, like when you are doing RIRS, a low tidal volume and pulse rate is also one another important factor. The evidence says that spontaneous passage of the children is more likely. Indication, even to date, shockwave lithotripsy is holding very good for the children. So we have to keep in mind before we do these type of surgeries. Indication for PCNL are same. Now only for ureteral stones, ureterorhinoscopy may be alternative. In case of shockwave lithotripsy, it does not look promising. Same thing for the renal stones. If you see the normal caliber of the urethra is like this, 1 year below 8 French, 2 years below 8 French, 3 years below 8 French, 11 to 12 years 10 French. 8 French means our flexible scope is 8 French. So what I have tried in females, there is no problem, you can dilate the urethra, but in men, 1 day Foley's catheterization with 8 or 10 number. For example, this patient yesterday night I have catheterized so that I could pass a feeding tube and the flexible scope easily today. That is like any other tube, like a stent, like that. Bladder capacity is a very important thing. A lot of formulas are there. This is the best formula, age in years plus 2 into 30. So you have to be careful that 150 ml is more than enough to distend. More the bladder distension, your performance will come down, your angle will increase and scope movements are difficult. There are a lot of articles regarding the ureteral distensibility and effect of pre-stenting in success and complication rates, and the ureteroscopy without fluoroscopy in children. To be honest, the fluoroscopy is very less used in RIRS. Access sheath we are using actually with ureteroscope and the 25 size with Wolf ureteroscope. After that, if it is a solitary stone, there is no need to inject the contrast. Just inspect and come back. And stent also we are putting. So nowadays papers are coming on total fluoroscopy without using fluoroscopy. 70 to 80% success rate is there. There's another article like this. And access sheath long-term outcomes. Today anyway, Oliver Traxler sir is talking about that. And these are the papers versus ESWL or RIRS. Recently one paper has come comparing with PCNL also in pediatric population. Compared to PCNL, the SFR is little less, there is no doubt about it, but radiation exposure is lesser and lesser complications. These are some cases which I have done. This is a 1 year child, female child, and this is our like same like urethra is dilated with the dilator, and this is bilateral simultaneous RIRS in 1 year male child, where you have got both these sides are stented. After one side if you do, and if you are comfortable and finish the surgery, the other side also you can do. This was the case where access sheath could not go in the beginning on the left side. Then we kept the access sheath in the bladder and we continued. The main issue is the penile urethra. Like this I was threading, it was not going, and then we kept in the bladder like this, and after that the plexaxis is passed, and then like this is without guide wire, without anything, directly passing because the ureter is dilated. This stone classically is uric acid stone, and it took very less time, and then I thought on the opposite side also I will do, so in both the sides. But when I asked this question to Traxler sir in Paris, where can we do bilateral, he said, if I remember correctly, I said no. Even if one patient gets sepsis and if you are not able to manage, it's not good for the patient, he said. Now last 6 months to 1 year, we are not doing bilateral RIRS at all. Neither it is, anesthesia saving, this is not a major factor nowadays, better to do. In this case, again we have done on the opposite side, but this time I have used a small access sheath, then it went, and then we have used this Plexax 2S, and after doing some time I realized that I can use the access sheath. Sometimes when the urethra is dilated, you can observe here, we could pass a bigger access sheath in this patient. Majority of the people may not, this is the access sheath which we are passing, majority of the people will not accept this. If you are comfortable in passing this, then only do it. This cannot be recommended because 12/14 is too much for the children. With that, this is a post-operative follow-up, that 1 year child, absolutely there was no stone. This is a 4 years male child, RIRS, and this is the 8 years baby kyphoscoliosis. If you have a stone like this, calcium oxalate in a kyphoscoliosis, why do you, it is an unedited video of 1 minute, it is just powdered immediately, and then it's the same procedure. In these cases, PCNL is difficult, ESWL is difficult. And this is the Arshu kidney, which was a large stone volume, 8 years male. When I was doing this case, the stone in the isthmus was not coming out of this thing. Then I used high frequency and a little medium energy. This is a complicated care for PCNL. So when we passed the flexible scope, most of the stone was pulverized. Later on, some amount of stone was left behind in this is calcium oxalate dihydrate stone. After that, I have used the high frequency, high energy laser. Thank you very much.
That's a nice presentation, Chandraban. Any questions?
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
One thing is, sir, whenever we are using the irrigation, like in adults, while doing RIS, but in your presentation you said that none of the patient had any other problem related to sepsis or any issue of, like, sometimes they develop perinephric hematoma like that.
Definitely. Physical factors like ureteric injury and hematoma I did not face, but definitely some fever and changing to piperacillin tazobactam has happened, no doubt.
Okay.
In my clinical experience, 10 to 15% of the cases, I have to change the antibiotic on post-op day 0 or 1. Okay. That's there.
One more question, sir. Because I also was doing frequently of pediatric PNLs particularly, and one thing which I have noticed is when compared to adults, they have more of some, once in a while when compared to frequent to the adults, they have more of ureteric kink or such type of abnormalities you find in them, particularly in pediatric stone disease patients. But in such a scenario, if at all on IVP, if you encounter like that, do you recommend to consider RIRS in such cases or not?
In this scenario, if you put a stent, all those factors are taken care of. See, they are very tender ureters.
Yeah.
They have to grow, so they may have some folds. For example, in the morning, in just now case, just below the stone, there was small kink. Okay. If you are any rough in that, even ureteric catheter can perforate when you are inserting for PCNL. So we feel that always one guide wire, always over the guide wire something. And if it is not straight and multiple folds, then stent. And if it is not allowing after the stenting, look an alternate.
But in the post-operative, when you are waiting for the dust and everything, small fragments to pass out, will they pass out in such a king even with the stent?
Not normally after the stenting and per se in children, the evacuation of the small fragments is better. It's proven.
Sir, I want to ask, what is the definition? How do you decide to call a children? Because size,
Yeah.
body size changes.
The specific reason to select this topic is less than 20 kg, because when I was going through the articles, 2-3 articles have come like that. See, body weight BMI, like we calculate in laparoscopy BMI, same like in children who are very small. Naturally organs will be small, lung will be small, then complications also may be more. In the sense, especially the tallness and the weight, malnutrition, these three aspects.
Chandraman, I have only done one case, and in that I had a problem that we had a huge retroperitoneal collection as well as intraperitoneal collection of irrigating fluid. Have you encountered anything?
Yes, sir. My second case, I developed ascites. I did not notice. I covered the patient, very small baby. When I put the needle, the drained. Then what I did is RGP normal, cystogram normal. So I was feeling that pylo reflux into the intestine through the peritoneum is theoretical. This thing I got in the very second case.
Yeah. Yes, fornical rupture must be very common, especially in a
Yes, sir.
very small
If you
child
don't
like
do,
that.
If you don't do RGP and next day post-operative ultrasound, you will miss many, and patient may still do well because of nature.
Yeah.
Definitely, sir.
What I felt was I could actually pass an access sheath also in this child.
Yeah.
But the scope, I feel, was occupying the entire PUJ
Then
and
water
was
will not
not
come out.
allowing
Sir,
the
distensibility of the
irrigating fluid
ureter.
to come down.
For example, today afternoon I have used 450 to 500 ml of fluid. If it has not come out, it's not good, I feel. Most of it was coming out, that's why I was comfortable. And what I noticed, if you use flexible scope without irrigation proper, after 10 minutes, you will get capillary bleeding and you will not be very comfortable in lasing also. Probably those cases it is not good. Thank you.
Sir, one more question. Sir, we don't have the long-term data yet about the effect of this instrumentation on the spinal urethra of young children. Before this data is available, should we try doing these long procedures? See, if just catheterizing or putting a cystoscope for a PCNL, it's hardly 1 or 2 minutes. But we are doing a procedure for 40 minutes, 50 minutes sometimes.
Yeah.
So it might lead to some strictures. It's just
If you see the literature, I don't know about the urethra, but ureter, way back 10 years back papers were there. After that, not many papers are there about the submucosal loss of blood supply. If you use more than 1 hour like that, especially in a larger sheath. Even Doppler ultrasound of the submucosal vessels were done, but in last 5 years, not many articles are there.
Because
except trauma is different. Keeping a long time in the urethra and
Yes.
ureter are different. Both are different. But I feel any tightness is not good. For example, if it is freely moving, probably that effect may not be there. Even I am not experienced. We will.
We'll conclude. That's a very nice presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.